Hello, everybody. My name is Clare Lilley. I'm Director of Programme at Yorkshire Sculpture Park and very, very pleased to welcome you this evening for the premiere of Beyond Silence. Before I give a very short intro, it would be great if people, if you can use earplugs, or if not earplugs or earphones, then a speaker, and also to sort of turn the light down in your room in which you're watching this. I think that will really help help us to view Beyond Silence in the way that it was intended to be seen. So I'm putting that out there now, so you can have a little bit of time to find your headphones if you haven't already got them. I'm really delighted to be here this evening. For those people who don't know Yorkshire Sculpture Park, we're a 500-acre site that was primarily designed in the 18th century and early 19th century. So we've got lakes and woodland, parks and gardens. And really, the Sculpture Park is a real catalyst for artist interventions, from very ephemeral works, performance pieces that might last minutes or an hour, right through to object sculpture, which has been with us for very many decades. So it really sort of covers the whole panoply of sculpture production as we have come to understand it. And in 2020, or sort of late 2019, we developed a relationship with the Oak Project, which is an incredible group of people who are very intent on, or very concerned with, climate change and with environmental destruction. And with them and with the University of Derby, we have developed, or we're developing, a programme which is based on psychological research, which demonstrates that art can be a very powerful motivator in bringing people into contact with the natural world and in changing environmental behaviours in order to protect our environment, in order to protect our planet. And so the very first commission was a piece by Heather Peake and Ivan Morison called Silence Alone in a World of Wounds. And I think we have got a slideshow. Can we see that? Yes. So this is the piece which they created near to our upper lake. And you can see it's this very beautiful structure which embraces a grove of silver birch trees. It's made entirely from sustainable materials that are either from the earth. Some of it is made from rammed earth, which is dug up from Yorkshire Sculpture Park, and timber from Heather and Ivan's forest in Wales. And other materials like the thatch is heather from the North York Moors. So it's a sustainable structure which over time will degrade and will ultimately go back into the earth. And I think of it as a kind of a cloister. I suppose you bring to it whatever your history and heritage is, but it's a place that is highly contemplative, where people can come and sit in silence, or sit together in silence, not necessarily on your own. In fact, in a way, being in a communal situation is really beautiful. It's a place that really amplifies the sounds and the sense of being in that place. And for some people, it's a very emotional and very intense experience. So Ivan and Heather invited 3 artists to come and work to respond to silence and to bring their interpretation to it. And that's SAF-S2E, Melissa Sorrell and Jahday Ford, who we will meet afterwards when we have a little bit of a conversation. But for now, I would like to welcome you to view the premiere of Beyond Silence. Thank you.
Silence is the key. Silence is the breach. Silence is the prison that your mind speaks out of sleep. Pristine but unclean. Nature don't forgive. Nurtured by the pastures that were rising over headspace like a fly whiz as a frog croaks. A bird sing while the tree creak, and the sap seeps, a root peaks from beneath feet, and we wonder why the ground lifts and the ground dips. Take your breath deep. This is loosely. This is old dreams in a new scene. This is shadows over meadows. This is mist under bliss. This is heaven unintended. This is sunshine on a hillside. Silence, 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 silence is the breach. Silence is the prison that your mind speaks at sleep. Pristine but unclean. Nature don't forgive. Nurtured by the pastures that were rising over headspace, let a fly whiz into crop croaks. Silence, 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 and the sap seeps, the root peaks from beneath feet, and we wonder why the ground lifts and the ground dips. Take your breath deep. This is loosely. This is old dreams in a new scene. This is shadows over meadows. This is mist under bliss. This is heaven unintended. This is sunshine. Silence, 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 silence.
The prison that your mind speaks as it sleeps. Pristine, pristine, pristine. Like a headspace. Bird sings, the bird sings, the bird sings, the bird sings true. As it dips, as it dips, as it dips.
Silence, 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 silence.
This is loose sleep, this is loose sleep, this is loose sleep. This is heaven unintended.
Silence, 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 silence,
silence, silence,
silence, silence, silence, silence, silence, silence, silence, yo. Check. Silence, 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 silence. Tell them. Silence, 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 silence. Tell them. Silence, 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 silence. Till I'm off with the count and my heart left the bounce in the moonlight. With my hand in the clouds and my soul in the ground breaking twilight. Where is my light? I'm a lost child with a found home. This is right night. I've been rocked low like a lost cause. Where's my time? I'll be alright in the warmth of a hold of what nature nurtured. Even sweet imposters, and we won't be masters. We'll be earthly partners, roaming in the night like my shadows napping, pouring out liquor with a lost some brodies. This is awfully lonely. It is my time. And it's awfully lonely when it's my time. Cause it's awfully lonely. This is right night. Cause it's awfully lonely.
Cause it's awfully lonely. Cause it's awfully lonely.
This is right night.
Cause it's awfully lonely.
Cause it's awfully lonely.
Cause it's awfully lonely.
To roll up in the rain and the snow. I had to find things in the push of the shop. Fell in love with her, she held me close up in
like a sword. I've been wild as the wind in the eastern shore. Crushing up waves, this is nature's call. Big man thing, mama raised me strong. Been grinding way too long and I'll never fall. I'm too strong. I could soar. So I signed peace with my last two and not my first two, cause they were misused. And I bleed to ease truth. So I wonder if I'm past. If I escape, then I'm thankful. If I choose to die alone like I loved you, maybe I'm a fool. To dream along, I got loose screws. I'm living for the moment cause it's here. And if you cried, my dear, don't you fear your tears. It's okay, you're here. We can sow your tears. If I smoked away my tears. I'm living for the moment cause it's here. And if I die this year, smile away my memory and give me all your fears. I've been living in the shadows of omniscience, overthinking, overbearing on the details insignificant. The passion of our passage so superfluous, or so they say. They boasted you could put your little trust in us. Guess the joke's on us. Blind leading the blind, we don't see who's us. Existence is trust. But lately I've been feeling like we're losing us. Don't you feel as such? Trapped inside the mind, what is free to us? What is freedom? Shoulda, coulda, woulda, is you cooning much? Is you hating me? My dopeness be so dapper that you cannot touch. My wisdom is imperfect, but the wise have said that wisdom is a wasted time. So what is done is done.
Moon-kissed, noiseless, cold skin. Wind drift, may the first bird please sing. A lullaby to wake the sleeper if a creeper did freeze. Soundless in the pitch night, would the morning dew drip from its nose hair? Would silence burn in his heart scared? Would the ground stay friendly on uneven stepping? Is there a dark throne for the second godson? If the moon really kissed, it's still game to tempt out your smile. We sleep ourselves into two lives. What's a dream sequence if it became life? Would you rise like solar nucleus in the east, or set abnormally in the south? Is routine a sign of misfortune? When did you ever see the moon appear? Have you seen it set? Have you heard an owl hoot at daybreak? Have you saluted a goose quack at dawn? Were you patient enough to watch petals bloom? If you wallowed in your gloom, I turned the outside to a room. I saw the sky turn over wood sheets. I've seen a dove croak for a frog's meal. I sensed the wind change before the world scared. I've seen flames float in mid-air. I've seen water drip upward, and I've seen grass grow downwards. I've seen many souls hoping for hope. I've seen many souls hoping for hope.
See
spiritual hold on stories once told. Mythical beings give life our meaning. Mothering dome, a place to call home. Deep roots of a growing tree. Perceptions of a critical world we must see. Step, progression. Step, succession. Step towards our lesson. Change the ways of viewing our horizons. Change the ways of systemic violence. Open your eyelids, it's time to change our silence.
Thank you so much, guys. Oh, that was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And Melissa's here.
Hi.
I have to say, for the audience, that for some of us, that's the first time we've seen the first completed version. We've seen other versions before. So yeah, that was really beautiful to see. I wonder if I can start by asking you. I know that you, in a way, you came together, or at least you worked together as a group under the Future20 Collective with Ivan and Heather in 2020. Do you want to say a little bit about what kind of collaboration that was and how things may have changed for you over the kind of period of the pandemic?
It was nice to be able to leave my house to shoot some film with the Future20 project. I literally did most of it like in my house or my garden. So it's good to see some new places.
Yeah, it was great also to actually be in person collaborating. Like when I was doing the music for Future20, it was just me in my room and getting the sounds over through email. But it was good to be in the same room and well, be outside together, but like in the same place making it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, you know, the first Future20 was, you know, completely separate to different experience, as in like really rare. So it started out as a project. We were always meeting and doing in different places, seeing different things, like different inspirations. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits. So the whole project is within your own space, within your own sort of, I guess, little bubble. So, yeah.
I'm interested in what impact that had on your practice during lockdown and whether that's kind of followed through in the way that you're practicing, that each of you is practicing now, or is it, did you sort of make a shift and then go back to how you're working, or has that experience been incorporated into your practice?
Well, me personally, I took a very big plunge into sound editing and I guess other sorts of processes when it comes to music, and I was able to do quite a lot of it because of the pandemic, and I couldn't be as active with my glass making. So it just felt natural because I was already working with Logic and drums and recording prior to that, but only bits here and there over the past 5 years, 6 years. So all of a sudden, you know, it was just obvious, you know, what to focus on and what to do, because I was just in my room and I invested about £300 in speakers and interfaces and keyboards, and it just started to make sense. And then it ended up working really well with Future20 and SAF, working with him with a lot of the words and sounds and fusion we were able to encompass was like, yeah, really like the next step, I guess, in my practice.
So that was really quite a significant shift from being being a glass blower and making objects, tangible objects, to making sound and working with sound. And Saf, did you have a similar experience, or I suppose it's a little different for you because you're writing and speaking?
Yeah, over lockdown, I plunged more into the sort of beat making process, but since then I've sort of avoided working by myself. So I've either been in a studio with other producers and so on, or something like that, which has me always collaborating and not really so much into my own world. So I've sort of gone as far from what it was in lockdown. But however, I have learned a lot in terms of music production, which has made it easier for me to work with people and sort of made me able to do more things when it comes to the writing. And
I'd echo what Saf's saying about the collaboration aspect of what happened over lockdown. You know, before that, we were all working in our own paths, you know, going to do a show where we each presented our work, really. And then, you know, when the show couldn't happen, we were forced into a situation where, you know, we were all doing something we'd never done before. It was quite remarkable, you know. So the glass blower's making sound. You know, Melissa, from doing film, started doing Foley and doing sound with Jahday, you know, and that then passing back to Saf. It became this amazing sort of loop of collaboration in a really generous process. It's, you know, it's really changed my practice as well. How to see how you can let go of what you're doing and pass it on to someone. It's this sort of pass the parcel, and you never know what you're going to get back, and it's so exhilarating as a process. I've learned a lot from that.
And you, I mean, I suppose, Ivan, in a way, you sort of specifically asked these three creators, these three creatives, to come and work on the project. And I think that was in part because you felt that these three creators were really collaborative people, had a kind of a generosity that allows collaboration to take place. Is that true to say?
Yeah, I mean, there was this sort of perfect sort of circle of collaboration. I felt, you know, within the wider group, between these three, how things were passing between them, and each time, you know, it was sort of represented, or the next iteration, it grew and grew. You know, there's such, as I say, there's such generosity between them. But I was also looking for like another version of silence. You know, silence is very physical. It's very much about this primary experience of being there. You know, it creates the space, a space that asks you to respond that physically and emotionally and intellectually. And you know, I wanted to represent the work, or have a way of representing the work that expresses that response to it. You know, that emotion. You know, that emotionally and intellectually as well, and in a different format. You know, so something that through sound and film seemed to be sort of almost the opposite of what silence is in form, but it's sort of the mirror image. It's the other side of what it is.
And how did you start the process? How did it kind of physically start? Do you want to talk about that, Melissa?
Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant silence or beyond silence then.
No, sorry, I mean beyond silence.
No, that's all right. So I started I kind of asked the guys to make the music first so that I had something to respond to, because I didn't mind going out to get footage, but then I thought, if it's not going to suit the tone of music and stuff, I find it easier to respond to sound. And I found that on Future20. I think that's probably why we worked well together. I quite like playing with sound. So once these guys made the track, I found it a lot easier to assemble footage and sort of know what to look for. So yeah. But these guys, they went out and they did an all-night shoot session.
Jahday, to tell us about that bit, because I think that's like, there's a really strong concept behind the work, I think, which is really important.
Yeah, so basically, I just knew I had to get there as soon as possible to kind of like see what it, not just what it looked like, but every single detail, like my brain can process. Pretty much the feel of the ground, the birds, the bees, everything from like you can hear the road, like acres away. You can hear that, and it's just taking every element was like probably the first step, and then during that I wrote down little bits of like tiny poems and words and things to help put it in context. And I think that was like me translating the experience of silence and then starting that methodization of bringing in the sound and bringing in the other elements. So it was a very interesting, I guess, evolution towards it. And then the next step was planning with Seth to go there for like one night, one morning, just literally just that amount of time to harness what the mood and the environment was at that specific point. And we worked together to kind of like take in as much as we could. And what was fascinating was like I was able to take my laptop and my mic and headphones, and we hardly talked. We literally
Talk much, yeah.
we did not talk. We were talking about like, okay, a bit more oomph on this verse, or a bit more. Can you stand way over there to cite your poem loudly, so I could put it behind the front of a mic vocal to really play with it. But other than that, I was just creating purely what I felt, seeing Saf, and then he was creating what he saw, and then eventually everything just merged together. From I think 7 p.m. Then we went back to the house for a bit. Then we woke up at 3 a.m. To catch dusk and twilight. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we went to sleep like 6 a.m. Past 7 a.m. I think. We went to bed at like 8. So like all of what you just saw is pretty much. There was some post production and then other words edited, but the whole synopsis of that piece of work was sort of created when it comes to sound. When it comes to sound and when it comes to visuals, Melissa was able to redevelop what we took and then reshape it and manifest other things from her end, which gave it like this amazing sort of 3-4 step evolution to get that result, which was really, really fascinating. Yeah.
I'd just like to say, like, I was there that night that Saf and Jahday were there. I was so impressed by this concept where they were going to go to the space kind of like blank slates, but for the night, and then over the course of the night they were going to actually make the piece in the kind of a wanna, whatever happened was the piece of work. As Jahday said, there's a bit of post-production, but each block of like 3 hours, like the next section would emerge. Saf had been standing there, he'd write words, Jahday would be recording things, he took some crazy instruments, there was some sound recordings, but we'd hear the next bit. It was like this magic. Maybe Saf, you can tell us, like, because that was quite a different experience for you.
Yeah, for me it was once we decided we were gonna make it overnight, I just knew I can't do any like prep. So I just knew I had to get there and feel the space and really take it in. So it was just the words just came. Seeing Jahday work and hearing bits of what he's doing and then feeling it, the words were just pouring out, and it was just it sort of just worked very well, because I could feel everything, the unevenness of the ground, the moonlight, the birds, the cars way in the distance. And I've never done anything like that before. Usually I have a concept and I'm in a room, but the concept doesn't match the setting. But it was interesting and very stimulating to to have the place that I'm at as the inspiration and the push. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's an immersive piece, isn't it? And so you kind of immersed yourself in this little world, this small world that silence embraces.
Yeah, and at one point in the night, it was fascinating. It was like nothing. No, I mean, even the ducks, birds, any animal you can ever hear in that park was not a drop of noise. But all you can hear was like just cars, like so far away, but you can just hear it echoing in the distance. And it was just so still and quiet. And then watching the sunrise. Yeah, I've never experienced anything like it.
But oddly, Jahday, that point in the night is the point in the film where it goes absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on there? How does that work? I mean, for me, like, we create like a space for people then to step into, you know? And it's almost like that space opened up and you guys did that. That's what happened in that space.
Yeah, because I think at that point, I remember being able to hear what Jahday was making through his headphones. So I think with all that space and with all the sound we could hear before, our brains were probably just moving at a million miles an hour. So it was just a matter of filling that space, the space of sound that we couldn't hear in real life. I think our brains just wanted to fill that in so much. So
it feels a lot more like it's coming from in here, that bit of the film, you know, and of the sound.
Yeah, I think
whereas either side, it's a reflection of, you know, night falling and dawn breaking.
Yeah, I think it was specifically this moment in silence, like not just it's cold, that, you know, it felt like a literal thing. You know, what if the earth, the natural elements around us, climate change, all of these things impacting the planet, like if it could say anything during the silence, like during its time to speak, you know, like what would it say? You know, and it's not going to be happy, or it's not going to be nice. You know, it's going to be something that's like direct and, you know, a sense of anger and sort of, I guess, alertness is a good word, you know, like, and I love the synths and electronical sort of like tones, which is like this sense of like choir and screaming, you know, coming from a completely, probably the most silent place I've been in, you know. So I wanted that to be like the expression towards, you know, what everyone sees is just nice trees and everything looks natural, but, you know, it's a really urgent situation we're in. So music can help to communicate that.
It seems amazing to me that you weren't having very much dialogue at that point. I mean, obviously, that part of the film, you know, really speaks to me of trauma, and you know, you're both coming together musically and in terms of your lyric in a way which is incredibly traumatic and which speaks of this, you know, of the situation that we're in right now. I mean, I suppose I wanted to ask whether that concern for the environment, I mean, it's hard to imagine that no one has any concern for the environment, but that understanding of the climate emergency, and is that something that you've dealt with before in your work, or was this a new opening for you?
For me, it was quite new. I think the only thing was Future20 that I'd done that was anywhere near this in terms of concept. But yeah, it's a topic that I talk about a lot, but I've never really put into work as much. So I think there was a lot of feeling of like release in making this. So yeah, there was a lot of thoughts that I hadn't put into art that I have put in this work. So I think there was a moment of putting some weight out for me. Yeah.
I think it's really impressive how that coming together in the film speaks of danger, not just to the planet, but also to the human, the kind of human body and human life. That's something that really comes through to me.
Yeah. I mean, in my head, you can't worry about the environment and not worry about yourself. I mean, we are, as humans, part of nature. We are part of that cycle. We are part of that food chain. So I feel we do go hand in hand with nature. And it's something I think part of the reason of why we've become so detached or have even gotten to this point of a climate crisis is because we've differentiated ourselves from nature, and forgotten the fact that we came from nature. We are part of nature. If that makes sense.
Or we even are nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Melissa did something really surprising in the film, and this is the great part of the Pass the Parcel, really, of collaboration in a way. There's unexpected things, but you linked it sort of into this sort of deeper time with these stone circles. Can you tell us about
so I think what we wanted the film to show, initially we didn't want humans in it, but that changed. But we kind of wanted to show, I think, like we keep phrasing it as the essence of human activity, which is kind of what the exhibit is. Like, it's something that humans have made, and there's going to be evidence of it. Like, the idea of silence is it deteriorates over time just naturally, so it's meant to fall apart. But once it does, which will be like in many years, there'll be still like a ring of evidence left behind that this once existed and the humans put it there. And I think after I went shooting at the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, I just wanted to think, like, what other kind of rituals have humans done that is similar to this? And I just sort of like Stonehenge straight away, but I didn't really want to do Stonehenge because it's been in probably so many documentaries now. So I thought, oh, I'll go to some stone circles, see if there's any more around the UK, and there's actually hundreds. So that was quite good. So yeah, I just went on a little trip, visited a couple of sites, and yeah, they were really different. I was quite surprised. So I went to Druid Circle in Wales, and that was harder to find. There was a bit of walking, and I went in completely the wrong direction to begin with, but I eventually found it, and it was like a cluster of rocks, like just all together. Whereas when I went on to Rollright stones, those stones were called like the King's Circle or something, and like there was like some sort of like history to them, and there are a few sites sort of spread out, but this particular one, like, the ring was so big, and it just like, it made me think instantly of silence. Like, us humans seem to like to create things in circular like patterns and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of forgot where I was going with that one, but yeah, sort of like evidence that humans have left behind is where I kind of got the link to stone circles with that.
The last time I went to the Nine Ladies Stone Circle in the Peak District, I don't know if that was one that you went to, because I think you did do some filming in the Peaks, did you? Or
I was going to go to Derbyshire because I know there's quite a lot of stone circles there, but for some reason I decided to go further.
Yeah. Well, the Nine Ladies is really interesting because it's one that's incredibly well known, and it's quite a hike up a very steep hill, like as most of them are. And when I went there last time, there were a whole bunch of people who were there greeting the light, and invited me to join in, which I didn't do because I kind of, I just wasn't kind of in that frame. But I sort of slightly regret that I didn't join in.
And is that at dawn, Claire? That's the greeting the light at dawn, is it, or is it?
Well, I don't honestly, because they were druids. I mean, at least two of those people were druids. So it's kind of not a thing that I know about. But I know that I am very definitely drawn to stone circles, and I know North Wales really, really well, and the peaks well as well. And I think you know I often think about the connectivity that we have, and I think that we're drawn to from you know, artifacts, objects, paintings from the Ice Age onwards, and as well as stone circles, which show this really pretty much unbroken line of creativity that comes from humans. Because, you know, there's a lot of ways that you can celebrate life or death, or that you can come together in communities, but humans across the world, in, you know, every part of the world, at every point in time, have chosen to create objects which have sort of similar similar forms. And I think it's really interesting that, well, more than interesting, that it shows a kind of compulsion to create. And I imagine that that's something that, and the same with the spoken word, which of course has less evidence in human history, and with sound, and some of the very oldest creative artifacts we know are hollow bird bones, which would have been flutes. So yes, there's a lot of connectivity.
There's one of the instruments that Jahday brought with him, actually, is an instrument that's based on the sound of the rattle of a goat's jawbone. Is that right?
Donkeys.
What's it called?
Well, the instrument that I ordered was I tend to order quite a lot of stuff from them, but this instrument is called a Verislap, and it basically imitates the sound of a donkey's jaw, which I think in South America is called a cuica. I think it's cuica. I don't want to get this wrong, but donkey's jaw and the wrong searches instrument.
It's the very strange clackety clackety clackety.
Yes, I was close. It's let me see if I can pronounce it right. Cuijada, Q-U-I, or Cuijada, Q-U-I-J-A-D-A, bone percussion. So it's like a very interesting process of a donkey's jaw. As it dries, it leaves air pockets in the jaw and the teeth. So the teeth rattle in the sort of like dome in the jaw, and as you sort of roll I guess a object along it, or you shake it, you get these sounds. And I couldn't access that, so the next best thing was the Verislap, which sort of imitates that. So it was like this really pure and natural organic sound that I wanted to capture, with other sort of like ambient sounds, like the bell tree, which was like a really big sort of like vertical bell that had different notes alongside it. And you can hear that in the first segment of the piece. But yeah, the instruments are really, really interesting to use. Not too many, but you know, it felt right to just bring very different, very unique ones. Didn't want to do.
I love the fact when you turned up, you know, there's one thing I need to bring to this piece is the sound of a donkey's jaw rattling.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. That kind of represented a lot of the buzzing and other sort of like I'd say continuous noises I experienced when I visited there, and it translated into that instrument pretty well.
Ivan, you've spoken a little bit about the kind of the generosity of the collaboration. What does it mean to you? I mean, does it make you think differently about silence? Does it make you feel that there is other lives of silence? What does that mean to you? Because, you know, effectively these three artists have you know, riffed off your work. How has that been?
Well, we always, it's been quite moving, I think, actually, especially seeing it now that it's come together. You know, when we make work, we kind of put it out there and hope that it does move people, and people, you know, people have different, we want our work to have many different experiences, for people to have many different experiences of it. And it's not often that we get to know what they really are, I guess. But in this situation, like, it's a really intense response back to us, you know. And for silence, I mean, I feel it as a work, it has like great depth to it, or I hope that it, you know, has depth to it, and it's much more than what you see. It creates a strong emotional response, and I feel in this piece of work, I feel that, you know, there's depth and there's emotion in it, and it's not the emotion, and it's not the response I would have maybe expected either, which for me is great. If we're setting a ball rolling and it's not following where I'd expect it to go, that's proper collaboration, or that's hopefully that's, you know, a good beginning point for an artwork. You know, it grows and it takes on its own sort of life. So yeah.
And do you know, do we as a group, do you have a sense of whether this is going to evolve, how it might evolve? How would you like it to evolve?
Well, lots more, I hope, but we hope for with this piece specifically that it will evolve into like a physical piece, a performance piece, which will be within the piece itself and around the piece, that'll take elements of this response and a kind of respond to this. I think is you know, it's not just a literal performance of this piece, but it would be a response to this piece, you know, in real time, I think, in the space, which is really exciting for me. Maybe not for you.
No, that's definitely would be quite exciting. I mean, we talked about it quite a lot, and the possibilities are very wide. So it would be very exciting to see how we do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's you know, why not? You know, it's so many routes and sort of like pathways this project has created. You know, it makes sense to have a physical response, the same as this sort of digital response. And it feels like that this live performance in the space will kind of be like a full circle of, you know, epiphany. I think everyone should have. You know, you've literally gone all the way around back to the original physical creation of the piece. It will be quite a beautiful narrative, I think, for sure.
I think it'd be quite nice when we start arranging that, just because like silence is such, I think, like almost a meditative place. Like I've seen a lot of people sort of commenting after they go and visit the park, and like the things that they say about it and how it makes them feel and how peaceful, like the majority of them, I think, seem to feel when they sit inside silence. And I think adding a performative layer would just add so much to it. And I think it'd be interesting to see like dancers or like actors or people like just sort of respond to the space as well as so yeah, I think it'll be quite exciting.
I think what the piece that you've made really highlights the kind of the urgency of the situation that we're in. And one of the things I really liked about the way that the piece had been physically structured is this, to me, it seems, and you can tell me I've got it wrong, it's absolutely fine. But to me, it sort of seems a piece that starts in a way that's really elegiac and lyrical, and very beautiful, and then goes through this kind of trauma, and to me seems to come to a kind of a call to arms, but manages also to bring in this sense of hope, with the sun rising, but without letting go of, not letting anybody off, not saying not changing your behavior is going to be okay, because it isn't, but nevertheless ending with this sense of something which has a sense of hope around it. Do you think I've characterized it okay, or would you characterize it differently?
I'd say basically it sounds like you sat in to most of our meetings, Claire. You've got it absolutely, I think. I think it's that passing through, and I don't think we've ever said the word trauma, but I think that's the perfect word for the central part of the piece.
And there's almost something redemptive about it. I mean, none of us can be, none of us can be redeemed in a way, but the idea that there is redemption, I think, is a really, it's a really important thing for humans to hold on to. And I wondered if there were parts of this work which you feel already that you're each kind of pulling into other areas of your practice or other projects.
Yeah, I would say for me, there's maybe a couple of lines or so that I've used in other pieces because it just carried the sentiment, and it is something that's I've incorporated, like the subject of silence and the environment and the opposite of silence, of the word silence, and how that dictates our daily life is something that I've used recently in other projects.
Yeah.
And it seems to me it's a political work, in the best sense of the word. Would you agree with that? Is that important to you?
Yeah, I think like we all know about the Go Green initiatives over the past like 10 years. A lot of them aren't really green. It's literally just a color and sort of like this sort of commission they've thrown out to make you think they're all good for the earth, and the processes or industrial methods are all sustainable, but it's just a ploy, really. So like the fact that we can create work, to show that this is a beautiful environment, but this is nature as you're seeing it, but there's like a lot more going on that you should be aware of and respect, and not just this, birds chirping and sun and greenery. This response is kind of like alerting that like all of this is in danger, and it's really precious, and that's what it should be it would be communicating, so you get all of those feelings and elements throughout the piece. I feel, which is like really, was really important to sort of pinpoint that. So, it can be quite political and on a societal basis. Yeah.
And I think even the form, the kind of the way that you've worked together, the way that you constructed the work, to me there seems a really strong sense of improvisation, and and I think it's a creative form, or actually it's a form of human behavior that we forget at our risk. I think it's improvisation as in a way to live your life is actually something which is extremely valuable in terms of how you adapt and how you how agile you can be in life, and to respond with agility to the situation that you're in, and in a way which isn't working alone, which is working with other people and kind of collecting and sending out, collecting from and sending out to other people, and being in a rhythm, I suppose, which is really, you know, the best improvisation is when you find yourself with a kind of a common purpose, and sort of ride a rhythm, or co-create a rhythm, make something together. But in a way, that seems to me to be a kind of political act right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I think that sort of act of improvisation, but also the act of collaboration as well. You know, in the collaboration, you know, necessitates really that you sort of let go of your boundaries in many ways. You know, if each of us had made this work individually, it would be such a different work, and it would simply follow the path of the work we'd already made, probably. Whereas together we've made something. I think it's unexpected to all of us. You know, but you need to feel comfortable to step away. You know, step away from where you would normally be. You know, from your comfort zone a little bit, but still put your name to that. You know, that can be a hard thing. You know, you've got to feel secure within, you know, with the people you're working with to do that. You know, it's a hard thing. It's sometimes a rare thing to find that moment, but it's very powerful, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've made a really terrific work. It is a really powerful work. Where can people see it again?
I say this. They can see it on through the Yorkshire Sculpture Park website, through the Oak Project website, through all their social media streams, and on YouTube. It'll sit there as well. I think that's all of them. I'm sure you'll find
ideally with headphones, with a darkened environment, rather than just off your laptop speaker.
And also on different sound-based platforms as well. There'll be just the sound version of it with shorter sort of video flipped element of it as well, if you want to just the headphone experience everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. I think we've come to the end. Thank you for this evening and giving more of yourself. Thank you for creating this beautiful work. And let's hope. Well, I think we will see a real life. I hope a real life, real time work. Maybe when the weather is a little bit better than it is right now, sometime next year. And I look forward to that. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Claire, for hosting us tonight. Thank you, Saf, Melissa, and Jahday.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, likewise, for giving the opportunity. And
Yeah.
It's been great.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.